Alyssa, hi there. I hope that you're doing well. Thank you so much, as always, for your support and for your patience. I feel like I'm always in some crazy transition when you buy a reading from me. Right now, I'm getting ready to move to New Orleans to hopefully attend sound engineering school and to start a new band and blah, blah, blah. All that fun stuff. So I hope, all things considered, this wild world is treating you well right now. I have all my stuff packed up in my van, so I had to dig through yesterday to try and find a set of cards. So I was meditating on your energy a little bit, and right off the bat, it just sort of feels like internally, it feels like you're going through some internal changes, taking on new perspectives and looking at things differently and kind of seeing things in a different light. Feels as if, you're feeling really safe and secure in your family life. There could be some stuff with career changes or thinking about furthering your education. I'm kind of getting those energies. I haven't even drawn any cards yet. That's sort of what I'm feeling. It definitely, feels like you're making a lot of strides with your healing and your internal work. Maybe have been doing some more self-care practices, some new self-care practices. I'm feeling a lot of that energy for you. Overall, kind of healing past traumas and kind of working really hard to get over some insecurities and some, character flaws that we all have built into us and learned from our weird society. I'm getting a lot of that energy. So let's see. Let's kind of just start drawing some cards for you here and see what we come up with. Please excuse the dog squeaking of the toys in the background in the weird place I'm in. I'm staying at my parents' house for the next week or so until I leave for sure. Just kind of waiting on a few odds and ends to be in order before I leave. So yeah, I will quit rambling and we will start drawing some cards for you here. I hope my phone has enough space in it to make a 20-minute long video. We will see. If not, I will upload it in 2 parts. Abel, hey, enough with the squeaking, please. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I hope, like I said, that things are going well for you. And that overall, you are having a good time in this crazy life. Abel, stop the squeaking, please, sir. Okay. All right, we'll take that. Okay, we'll start with what we've got here. I'll draw some more cards as we go along. At the very start, we have the Knight of Swords here for you. So kind of what I'm seeing is the swords are kind of all about action. And so it feels like there have been some choices and some action that you've had to take recently that maybe you were unsure of. Kind of in the beginning, you were a little bit like, shit, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. And you were kind of, I feel like, thinking it over and kind of maybe overthinking a little bit. Not that it's bad to be analytical or not that it's bad to kind of overthink things and sort of weigh our options before making any decision, but I feel like you kind of came to this conclusion and you finally, pulled the trigger, so to say, and made this decision, and now you're sort of feeling like, on top of your thinking game, where you're like, you know what, I'm believing in myself, I'm making choices based on what I think is best for me and my family. And I feel like you're feeling confident in your thoughts and you're feeling confident in your ability to make decisions for yourself and for your loved ones. And not in a controlling way, but in a sort of this kind of Buddhist approach where it's like an approach that's unattached So, you know, you don't attach yourself too much to any desired outcome. So the choices you make and the thoughts that you push forward into action, you're kind of working with the universe to let things happen naturally. And I think that that's been kind of a struggle for you. I'm seeing here with the Four of Swords next, where it's sort of like you've kind of had to work extra hard to relinquish some of that control and to sort of, you know, let things happen naturally and to let things progress naturally. It feels like maybe there was a little bit of a struggle with that, where you were sort of like, oh, kind of holding on to things that maybe were no longer serving you. But I feel like you're getting past that with these two first swords cards that we have for you here. It feels like you're really starting more to trust yourself and to believe in yourself. And with that, the people around you, the people in your life are starting to trust you more as well. Not that they didn't before, but it just feels like this symbiotic relationship of like give and take, and of like the more you're trusting yourself and the more you're believing in your ability to make choices, the more the people around you are having confidence in you, which I love. Next I got the World card. So this kind of to me is like the world is your oyster sort of thing. So you could be opening up recently, your mind kind of expanding recently in these ways where you're realizing all of these different options and all these different things available to you, whether it's resources or abundance that you sort of maybe had count yourself out of before. So it feels like your mind is opening up to this kind of new world where you're like, oh my God, I thought about things in this kind of black and white and particular way, and I sort of was pigeonholing myself and pigeonholing my opportunities. But with the World card, I'm seeing this kind of opening up, this sort of flowering and blossoming of realizing that the world really is your oyster, and that there's so many other options and so many other ways to think about things and so many other ideas. And on the same vein, or in that same vein of the thoughts and the new ways of thinking about things, I have the Eight of Wands here. So wands to me are really all about, the swords are a lot about action, which we had some of that, some choices that had to be made and some sort of working to have confidence in the choices that you're making and to believe in the choices that you're making here. This is kind of the ideas and the prior to that. And it sort of feels like you, like I said, were not really overthinking things, but you were in a really analytical headspace. So you weren't acting yet, but before you had this breakthrough, before you had this big breakthrough where you were like, oh my God, I sort of just realized that I don't need to pigeonhole myself, and I don't need to pigeonhole others, and I don't need to pigeonhole my ability to be abundant in opportunities. I sort of feel like you were stuck, a little bit stuck in this kind of mindset that you're kind of living in this past energy of like, the patterns that have happened to me in the past are sort of dictating how I act and what I can do in the future. So this is sort of what this card is telling me. You know, prior to the breakthroughs that you were having, you were very much kind of thinking in this pattern of things that you'd already been through. And a lot of this could maybe relate to past traumas that you've experienced. A lot of this could relate to past relationship patterns and things that you've noticed about yourself that you don't want to bring forward, with the King of Cups here into the newness of your life and the newness of your relationship. And this could be a romantic relationship, you know, with your husband, or just your relationship with your family and relationship with yourself. It sort of feels like you're having these emotional breakthroughs in a sense of feeling as if you can express yourself and be more vulnerable, and sort of kind of honing in on that and realizing that, you know, being vulnerable isn't this sign of weakness that maybe we have been taught to believe that it is. And maybe being vulnerable in certain situations is necessary. And kind of being this King of Cups energy is very much sort of like being willing to purge those emotions and being willing to talk about those emotions, and maybe even being willing to connect more with those emotions. So I do kind of feel a lot of that energy for your situation and for you currently. So let's draw a few more cards here and see what we can get. I haven't really been feeling in the right headspace to read lately. So I was also, aside from like trying to move everything out of my apartment and pack everything into my van and get rid of a bunch of my shit, I also was just like, I don't really want to do a reading for someone when I'm feeling all over the place. It's hard to channel. and kind of be able to deliver good messages when I'm feeling so overwhelmed myself emotionally that I don't want to put too much of my own shit into it. So hopefully this is resonating with you and I'm not projecting too much. Oh my gosh, cards are flying all over the place here. I'm not going to take all of these, but I will take the one that fell. All right, so we have the death card. Yeah, that definitely confirms. The death card here definitely confirms for me a death, like an ego death or something that, some part of you that's dying off, some part of you that you're like, I don't want to keep carrying this forward. I don't want to keep taking these old parts of me or this old part of me that I thought was defining me and that I thought made up a part of who I am. I don't want to carry that anymore. So I see this death. There was some sort of ego death or some sort of death within you, something inside of yourself that maybe was holding you back. I feel like you've been having some really big breakthroughs in that sense. Elderflowers. These cards are the medicine deck, so it's all kind of based around plants. So the elderflowers kind of talk to me just a lot about this internal wisdom, this internal well of wisdom inside of yourself that you've really been drawing from. And with the death aspect, I think it's very much like I said, just parts of yourself that you no longer want to carry, that you are committing to healing once and for all and kind of leaving behind once and for all and just saying like, you know what? I don't need these things anymore. I feel like I've been carrying this baggage for way too long and it's just sort of time to move on from that. Oops. So I like that. Definitely making some breakthroughs. I'm feeling a lot of those breakthrough energies and kind of you creating more emotional availability for the people around you, and sort of feeling like you are this source of light, this source of wisdom for the people around you who are coming to you for advice and who trust you and see you as this very kind of stable, emotionally sound individual. And that's all because of all of this internal work that you're doing. And I feel like obviously it hasn't been an easy struggle. So we got the 9 of Wands here, which kind of relates to the 8 of Wands that just came up. And it's more of those kind of thoughts and more of that internalizing. And this is sort of talking about walls that you had built up around you. And it's showing up next to the death card kind of tells me that the death could have been in relation to walls that you had built up around you. And kind of emotional barriers that you had built up around you. Things that you sort of were using as defense mechanisms or things that maybe you were projecting onto others that were really your own kind of internal shit. And, you know, I don't mean that in a mean way because I absolutely adore you, you know that. But we all have these kind of walls we build around ourselves, and maybe it sort of felt as if the people closest to you in your life were sort of feeling for a while before these breakthroughs started happening that they couldn't access the warmth of you. You know, you were going through some shit where it was just sort of like you didn't feel like you could be there for others. You didn't really feel like you could be there for yourself. And those are really tough times to go through. So I'm really happy to see kind of this movement forward with the World and the Death card. So let's get some more messages. Spirit, truly grateful. What are some advice cards? What are some advice messages that we can bring to Alyssa today to kind of continue helping her on her journey? Abel, stop it. Spirit, some advice messages for Alyssa here, please. I'll take that. Ace of Cups. Okay, so I think the advice that I'm getting here, the Lotus, Ace of Cups, is that you have to be willing to allow your emotional cup, for lack of a better word, to run over, essentially. Where when you're feeling overwhelmed with emotion and when you're feeling kind of bogged down with a lot of different feelings and things like that, sort of letting that stuff out. I think that's the advice, is very much so being open to and willing to express yourself and not being afraid of judgment, because the people that love you, they're not going to be judging you for your emotions. And I think the advice that we're getting here is that your emotions are valid. You know what? If you're angry about something or sad about something or happy about something, those things are valid and those things deserve to be addressed and deserve to be listened to. And so I think the advice card I'm getting here is just expressing yourself and not being afraid to express yourself and not feeling bad about having extreme feelings or about having things that are really important to you, and really focusing on your own internal dialogue and what that's telling you is sort of the advice I'm getting here. Definitely listen to your heart, as silly as that sounds. Listen to your heart. No, but that's the advice I'm getting for you here. So maybe embrace your emotional side more. Embrace your emotional side a lot more. And you know what? Don't be afraid to be overcome with emotion. Don't be afraid to be overflowing with feelings. Whether those feelings are good or bad, like I said, they're valid. And listen to those things and use those things as your guide. Let's get a few more advice cards for you here. I don't know. I feel like I've lost my mojo. I know that's silly, but I love reading, but it just feels really difficult sometimes. I guess when I'm in a really transitional space or going through shit in my own life, it's just really hard to try and bring proper messages to others, so I'm sure you can understand. But I am really happy to be reading for you, and I'm really grateful for your support. It means a lot, so thank you. Ooh, okay, we will take that. 6 of Cups. The watermelon card. So kind of what I'm seeing here is this sharing energy. So it really kind of goes along with the Ace of Cups here in a sense of, I'm just getting more advice that the more you share, the better off you're going to be doing at this point. Oh, excuse me. The more you share what's going on the inside of you, and the more you bear your heart on your sleeve, and the more you are willing to dig deep inside of yourself and express what that is to your loved ones and the people around you. And even if you have a therapist or if you have someone that you talk to about stuff, which I always recommend, even journaling and that sort of stuff, you know, I'm always advocating for. This is just talking to me a lot about sharing. You can kind of see in the imagery here. And a watermelon, I know I'm not trying to be silly in relating it to the imagery, but I think it really does relate, is a huge fruit. So it's got a lot to share. And so this is just talking to me about how much you have to give and how much you have to share and how much you should be sharing that and how much you should be willing to let that out and how much you should be willing to take these parts of yourselves and these things that you've learned and pass them down and pass them along and pass them around. So the advice really that I'm getting for you right now is to embrace your inner dialogue, your inner feelings, wear your heart on your sleeve, be willing to share your experiences and be willing to share what you're going through, because chances are those stories and those messages and those experiences of yours are going to be really helpful to those around you, and maybe even really help them and really benefit them. So yeah, I'm getting a lot of advice. I'm getting for you is to be willing and open to expressing yourself and to sharing. Those are the big themes. Big themes that I'm getting here, with the struggles of kind of overthinking and kind of feeling a little bit defeated with not knowing which direction to go or which choices to make, or feeling a little bit of a lack of confidence in yourself as far as your ability to make decisions goes, which we all experience. You know, that's no bad thing. I don't want to frame it as if it's a bad thing that you were going through that, or still maybe might be a little. But what I'm seeing is you either went through a big ego death recently, or you are right on the precipice, right on the verge of experiencing that. And I think it's because you've been doing so much inner work. And honestly, like I said, the way out of this kind of struggle or this sort of lull that maybe you've been in or that you've been experiencing off and on is definitely going to be expressing yourself and sharing. I can't stress that enough. Spiritually grateful. Let's get a few more messages here today. All right, we'll take that. All right, we got the High Priestess. This is one of my favorite cards. This is big Pisces energy, which we're in Pisces season right now, so it's fitting. The High Priestess is someone who is really centered, very much a kind of meditative state, very much a kind of controlled and powerful individual. And I really see you kind of stepping into that energy and stepping into that power. And so I think that really, you know, the kind of path that it's gone on here where it's like struggling internally, sort of kind of realizing within yourself that there are so many more options and so many more ways to think about things than maybe you've been allowing yourself to. Then kind of moving forward to these thought patterns that are sort of cycling and that have sort of built walls around you for so long, letting those things die, getting rid of those things, you know what, saying, I'm done carrying that shit. And then sort of being really open, like I said, to sharing and sort of really allowing yourself to be vulnerable and not judging yourself for that and letting feelings come up and allowing those things and accepting those things and moving forward with those things in order to get to this High Priestess energy, which you are right on the verge of. And maybe even starting to embody and starting to encompass right now and sort of marveling at yourself a little bit, saying like, holy shit, I've come a long ways. And holy shit, I've done a lot of work. I've put so much work in. When I look back to where I was or who I was, even just 1 year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, even 10, it's like monumental, the progress that you've made. And so you got to keep that up. And kind of what the cards are saying here is just that you get stuck in these negative thought patterns. You get stuck in these negative ways of thinking and these sort of restrictive ideas that sort of cage you in and box you in and even sort of distance you from the people you're closest to at times. And so in order to kind of embrace and embody your higher purpose or your higher self, it's going to take a lot of acceptance and allowance and expressing your true inner self and your true inner feelings and just not being afraid of who you truly are. Because at your core, you know, you're such a wonderful and fabulous person. People want to see that and people want to share that with you and people want you to express that and to give more of that. And so that's kind of what I'm seeing. And at the bottom of the deck here, we have the High Priest. So that kind of is a completion when I have the High Priestess and the High Priest. That really kind of, I think to me, this is sort of speaking about your relationship and how you two are working really, really well together to help one another heal and both to honestly just become your best selves. And you're both really bolstering one another and supporting one another to work through a lot and to kind of really get through that tough stuff that bogs you down. And so I love that. Those are the messages I have for you today. Again, thank you so much. If you have any questions or concerns, as always, you know where to find me. And enjoy your weekend. Thank you.